Here, first things first, with a couple of highlights presented by Hilton. Get a price match guarantee when you book at Hilton.com. NBA Finals Game 3. Steph Curry goes behind the back not once, twice before drilling the three.
He was so spectacular last night.
How you know?
Because I watched him. Because I saw him play. First play of the game, the Raptors left him wide open and he missed. So he missed 2 easy shots all night. Other than that, he was making tough shots. Look at this. Oh, Pascal Siakam.
More from this one. Siakam freezing Jonas Jerebko as he goes between and blows by him.
I do not care how many injuries the Warriors suffer. They could have 3 guys on the team come down with the flu. Jerebko cannot play anymore. He cannot play in this series. I'm telling you, man. He was on the Jordan
Nick,
Clarkson
I'm telling you, man, you're
shot
a little
plan.
harsh, man.
6
There's
shots.
certain guys, if they look a certain way, they can't play in the NBA.
It's not because of how he looks. It's because of how he plays.
Can we talk about Quinny?
That's not what I told you.
Quinn Cook thought he had an easy bucket here. Danny Green said, nuh-uh.
What's his nickname,
I
Jen?
called him Quinny.
No
That's her
problem.
dog.
Like your little angel, that's all right. But Danny Green just said, just like Jenna to the little kids at the park, get that out.
Get that out of here.
I know, don't talk to them like that. I don't talk to them like that often.
What a big time.
And she
play.
also doesn't avoid the contact the way Danny Green did.
Finally, a little Korean baseball. They say use your head, so this guy used his head. This counts as an out in baseball, Nick.
It shouldn't.
But it does, just like in volleyball.
It shouldn't. Just like in volleyball.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this guy a little reprieve because I think I know he might have lost it in the lights, but is this a dome? Do they have that white lining up there?
You know what? See, I do try to be the information guy. I am not
Even on
familiar
this.
with
Okay,
the
well,
stadiums.
listen, I got some information. That ball didn't hurt that dude's head. His head hurt the ball. Check the ball. That head can't be hurt.
That's a bigger bounce than the Canseco ball that went for a home run, which also, listen, this shouldn't be an out. If it hits your head, it should be like it hits the ground. Guys should be able
I'm all about you're trying to change the rules, but those are the rules.
I'm aware.
Back to last night's game. Toronto dominated a depleted Warriors team. It was 123-109. They now lead the series 2-1. The Raptors were massive underdogs when the series started. But now the teams have even odds to take home the Larry O'Brien Trophy. So, Nick, who has the edge in the series at this point?
Just real quick, I am shocked.
You were surprised this morning when you found out.
I couldn't believe it. That the series odds across all the Vegas casinos or your favorite online sports book say it's a coin flip to pick them at this point. I'm stunned by that because when the Warriors were installed as favorites before the series, we knew Kevin Durant was going to be injured. We knew that the Raptors had home court advantage, and we knew the Raptors were favored in Game 1 and Game 2, Warriors favored in Game 3, even though it didn't go like that. When the Warriors were minus 280, big favorites for the series, it was totally in play to be 2-1 Toronto after this point.
You know what we didn't know?
What's that?
We didn't know Kevin Durant was going to travel to game number 1, which made it more likely that he was going to come back sooner. And we didn't know they were going to have Boogie Cousins. So when you look at, these guys look like they might be coming back in the next game or 2. Now you see Boogie play, and now we've been through 3 games, and KD is still not practicing yet.
And no Klay.
Vegas typically knows something.
Knows something. I just find it stunning that the odds have changed this much when it's 2-1 with the home team having 2 wins, the road team having 1 win, even though they've each won on the opposition's court. I feel the Warriors still have the edge in the series. I feel the Warriors, because Klay is coming back, or I believe he is coming back in Game 4, and Durant likely comes back in Game 5, I think the Warriors do have the edge in the series. But if it is the slightest of edges, to me, it is now a 55-45 series, and I'm going to mention again, that Kevon Looney injury looms larger and larger if Game 2 was the aberration rather than Game 3.
Nick, I'm going to take you to Game 1. I got a crystal ball. I can do this. Kevin Durant's not going to play. We're before Game 1. He's not going to play in the whole series. Looney's going to be available, and Klay's going to be healthy the whole series. Who do you pick in the series?
The Warriors.
Okay. Jenna and I, the reason why we predicted the Raptors going to win, we had a feeling that KD was not going to play. Now I'm already to Game 4. All right? Looney's not going to play anymore, and Boogie Cousins is not going to be an all-star level player in this series. So for me, I can understand what Vegas is saying. The team that has the home court advantage and is the healthier team, and it's not a wild card who's going to play for them in the next potential 3 or 4 games. With Golden State, it's not getting better for KD. The longer he stays off the practice court, the probability for the Raptors goes up. That's why the odds now are at even, and the Raptors have guaranteed this for the most part. They guaranteed almost 2 games at home.
Oh, listen, they're in a position where the Raptors have to look at it as not their worst case scenario, but their near worst case scenario is a Game 7 at home to win the title. And I understand the Warriors would have to win games 4, 5, and 6 in order to avoid that scenario. So I get that part of it. And the Raptors, with OG now back, I know he still hasn't played, but he's back dressing. They're the healthiest they've been these playoffs. Kawhi, whatever he's dealing with, he was able to deal with it last night. 38 minutes, 30 points, finally above 50% from the field. And obviously going into the series, when I picked Warriors in 6, I didn't think KD, that was even without KD playing, but I didn't think Klay was going to get hurt. Nobody could have thought Klay was going to miss a game. The other thing that this Vegas line tells me is they believe that Klay Thompson, when he comes back, is not fully Klay Thompson. That they are baking into it that he's not going to be 38 minutes, knockdown shooting to go along with great defense. That he's going to be a minimized version of himself.
Yeah, that hamstring, it's very, very tricky. And the way Klay plays, the stress going to be put on that hamstring. I tell you, man, if I'm Nick Nurse, I'm bringing in someone going against Klay every 3 minutes, just a fresh body, so I can run him ragged. Because the hamstring, if it's confined, like if you're a football player, if you're interior, you can get away with it. You can wrap it up because you're never going to have to explode and or burst or sprint. Klay is sprinting all the time on the offensive end and on the defensive end. So even though I do believe he's going to try to play in game number 4, I believe his overall health will be compromised for the rest of the series. Not for 1 game, 2 game. That hamstring, you know when it's going to get better? In July.
And one last point, even though, again, I'm still going to stick with the Warriors in this series, and I think they should be the slight favorites. The devil's advocate argument is, aside from that 20-0 run that the Warriors went on, that 18-0 run to start the third quarter of Game 2, have the Raptors not dominated the bulk of this series?
Yes.
They dominated. They won Game 1. I don't want to say handily, but they won it pretty comfortably. They were in control the entirety of last night's game. In Game 4, they had their opportunities. They just could not hit shots in that fourth quarter once Klay went out. Like they were up 7 at halftime. They were up 5 at halftime of game number 2. The Raptors have been the team that's been in control the majority of minutes in this series. By the way, similarly to how Portland was in control the majority of the minutes of the previous round, Golden State just won all the games.
Very similar to the Portland, but Portland's role players couldn't make plays. As we saw in last night's game, Toronto's role players were making plays, and Kawhi Leonard, their star, played a lot better. We've seen 12 quarters of basketball. We have more than a sample size of who's who. In 10 of the 12 quarters, the Raptors have outscored Golden State, a lot like the Trailblazers. Only 2 quarters they've been outscored in, Game 1, Game 2, in that magical third quarter.
It just feels like 2 teams trending in very different directions. One just succumbed to injuries, and the other team finally all playing collectively. All right, coming up, did Klay's injury expose a major flaw in the Warriors? We'll discuss next on First Things First.
Yeah, it's the flaw no one can recover from, Jenna. You lose 2 superstars, you're done.